Hello, world. How's it going? Hope you guys are all doing great. If not, as always, I hope it gets better for you. And hopefully on the replay, it didn't cut that intro. But whatever, even if it did, that doesn't really matter because what we're here for is to help each other on keeping freshwater aquariums. I know there's all kinds of different levels of keepers from novice, beginner, expert. There's always something to learn in this hobby, especially when it comes into just philosophy, understanding nature, and the tons of different ways you can keep aquariums. So, on this channel, LRB Aquatics, that's why we have these Friday Night Live Q&As where the community and us can all get together and talk about freshwater fish. And if you got questions or anything to do with them, that's what we're here for. So, hello, and welcome everybody. So let me make sure I get into live chat here. That way I can keep up with the chat. And as far as, I'll go ahead and let you guys know the website. Usually I don't mention that till the end, but this time I remembered the website has been updated. A lot of the shrimp were sold out from last week, and now they are re-upped on there, as well as some fish and plants and other stuff. And so that's been updated, and I've just been kicking butt this last week. I went and did a talk at the Pasco Aquarium Club this last Saturday. That was awesome. Really, as far as like when it comes to talks for aquariums, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but there's not a more comprehensive talk than that talk. And they actually got the 2.0 talk, which was the first time that I gave the Keeping Aquariums Natural Simple 2.0 talk, where it's the All Breeders and Keepers edition. And man, it was a good talk. I was so glad how it came out, the response of the audiences, and all that stuff. And it was a good time. It was a good time. Love the aquarium clubs. If you guys ever get a chance or have the opportunity to hook up with a local aquarium club, I definitely recommend not having cold feet and just going in and checking it out. They're definitely worth the time if you're really into aquariums and nature and stuff. Todd Firestone. Todd, thank you so much for that $5 super chat and support. I really appreciate that, Todd. And I hope everything's going great for you. And that support will definitely be put into good use. I am finally officially over my intake. Completely 100% over my intake system for my water change system. Now it's just finishing out the outflow system, which I got done some of it today, but it's still got quite a bit to go. Utilities room done. It's actually about to rain here the next couple days, so I may get the opportunity to get a video for you guys for Sunday. We'll see how that goes. And there's a lot I got to catch up with you guys on. Like, it's crazy how much has happened within like these last 2 weeks, like big things popping. So I'll catch you guys up with that. Oh, and found my first baby goldfish. I got a few shorts I'll be throwing at you guys too. Community bred some goldfish. A goldfish. It was just so much guppy grass. The fry actually made it. The egg actually made it with all the other goldfish, which was really cool surprise. And those killifish that I had on my desk in that one tank that some of you guys may have seen is just full of babies now too, after I gave the Sheila away to Henry. So Henry, if you're listening, I got a bunch of baby Sheilas now. Oh, there you are, Henry. Good to see you in here. JP Jeffries says, when growing out a large group of guppy fry, should I separate the male because they might kill each other over females? Thanks, Lucas. So I would say just keep them together and make sure they have enough fries and hides and like floating plants that hide in, and like bottom plants as well, and then feed them. If you feed them twice a day, they're a lot less likely to predate and be so angry at each other or get hangry. But really, I don't find the young ones be too detrimental with each other. But it definitely helps to have other things for them to pick at instead of each other. So kind of focus the aggression elsewhere, whether it's just taking the aggression down from food and or just giving them something to interact with in the tank. And it looks like Alex sent a bunch of you guys over here. Alex says hi. Well, hello Alex, if you're listening. Glad to see y'all in here, and hope he's doing well. It's been a while since I've talked to him. I don't know what to call him anymore. Secret history living in your aquarium or fish story. Todd Firestone says, what could be the cause for white tetras to change colors? 3 of mine have changed to an orange color. As far as white tetras, I'm not sure exactly what white tetra would be without, like, I need the Latin name when it comes to tetras. Especially with tetras, like stores will name tetras just by common names. That a white tetra could be all kinds of different tetras. So maybe it's in a morph or in a breeding condition, or one's male and one's colored up and showing kind of ornate colors for the females. It's the only other thing I can think of that would cause like an orange color change in a fish. Brian Gower says, wax and curl that mustache immediately. So I can't do like oils and waxes. So oils and waxes do not mix with aquariums. So I can't do that stuff. As much as I would like to, like, get, oh, fancy, you got a fancy mustache. Give me a monocular or some stuff. Go full on Monopoly, man. I can't, because oil and water does not mix. Shady Grady, what's up, dude? Says, hi, Lucas. One of my tanks just start getting a dark coating on a lot of my plant leaves in my shrimp tank. What caused this, and how do I get rid of it? So, it sounds like you're getting scaling. So, scaling, if you're, like, scratching off a bunch of calcium off your glass, the same thing can happen to your plants, and algae will actually start feeding off that too. So what you can do is you could just get your fingers and just rub on the leaf and just knock it off, and or get some guppies or mollies or platies that constantly pick at that stuff so they don't it doesn't build up. And passing wind, yeah, preparing for the high winds. It's crazy. They've been spraying the sky, prepping the sky for freaking days now, just trying to build this storm up. Watching them, it's been sick. You can see the frequencies in the air. I got some crazy footage of where you can see where it's all waved out like frequency. A lot of people don't realize that the sky and water is very similar as far as its fluidity. Different elements, yes, but the fluidity and the nature of air and water is very, very similar. And also, Chris Resecker, gold member for 14 months. He didn't say anything. I don't know if he said anything, but that just popped up for me. But Chris Resecker, thank you so much for all that awesome support. And I saw the other Chris in here too, Chris Pinto, Potato. I'll see you, buddy. There's a lot of you guys I would like to say hi and see you and all that stuff, but you guys know how it is. There's so many people and only so much time with these. I try to knock them questions out. Soul S says, have you ever bred angelfish in your natural tank? So I have bred angelfish a long time ago. So it was a 29 gallon, and I had some slate and they're Philippine blues. And I ended up taking the babies to slate out, because the thing with angelfish, and you could do it in a natural tank, so it was a natural tank. Actually, I think there was an airline in it at that time, but you could totally breed angelfish in a natural aquarium, probably a lot easier than otherwise. When it comes to these natural aquariums, like seriously, babies just pop up. These fish breed like freaking nuts. Like, once I get this fish room done, the whole aquarium tycoon part is gonna come out like crazy. I mean, you guys just gotta watch to see what happens. And for those who have been watching, it kind of sucks because YouTube promotes like videos from like way out left field. I wish they would promote more of my recent videos, but like my top performing one right now is like one for bloodworms from like 4 years ago, and another one was, God, I don't even know what it was. It was just so old. But I wish they would do more of the new ones. If you guys go to my newer videos, that's a good, like, watch my last 20, like, binge watch my last 20 videos. And it'll show you a huge story of what's been going on. Even if you go probably even farther than that, from when, like, we moved and stuff. It's been quite a journey. And we're getting so close to, like, the summit here of the mountain that I've been trying to climb. Need more silver, don't we all? Says, I just purchased 4 zebra Acara door cichlids. Nice purchase. I eventually want some of those. I'm using coconut shells for their caves and to help keep pH low and peat moss. Any thoughts on them? 2 choices. So first of all, I would definitely recommend getting a TDS meter. Forget about worrying about your pH so much, and then I would try to figure out what their TDS is. Then that would give you a better idea of if you're working with soft or alkalytic water, because hydrogen molecules can misread a pH test. And like peat moss is really good to use as far as keeping that acidity in the aquarium and dropping that hardness and making it more acidic, because peat moss, coconut shell, they all provide that tannic acidity that helps break down mineralization, which is perfectly great for those zebra acaras. Leaf litter is good too. But if you are struggling with breeding them, but as long as you had those botanicals and make them comfortable enough, then I think they'll breed for you regardless of hardness, whether it's hard or soft water. But if you do find it to be troublesome, then if you have really hard water, you might have to soften it up with some rainwater or go all out and get a RO. But just collecting rainwater to dilute that one tank isn't too hard. Pile Aquatics says, I should have some fish for you. I will get with you after the holidays. Don't want to ship right now, ? I mean, I ship all year round, so I'm even giving away free hate packs right now and free plants. So I will ship, but I don't know. That's up to you, how you feel comfortable about it. But bro, that excites me. I am glad to hear that. I was actually just thinking about you the other day. I was like, I hope his killifish are doing well, because I saw you've been doing big things with your killifish, and bro, keep it up. Keep it up. I love to see it. So yeah, definitely hit me up. I'll be interested. Don't hassle the Hoff. Great name. 8 months gold member says, have you ever had a fish that everyone else spawns easily but was a problem for you? I don't think so. Not at this point. Not at this point. I mean, it used to be like tetras and stuff, but that was just mostly because of my water. So I was always just trying to breed some kind of tetras in hard water, and it can be tricky. But, no, not that I can really think of. There's not a whole lot that I haven't bred out, besides these rope fish. Those rope fish are the next on the bucket list, but don't hassle the Hoff. Thank you so much for your support for so long, being a gold member. And that is a good question. That was a good question. But I've been doing this for so long now. So many fish. Like, it's honestly not even hard to even breed fish. The hardest part about breeding fish for me is just getting the time to move them around and stuff, which I haven't had with being in build mode. So what I can't wait for is build mode to get completely over with, and then I can do more of that like musical fish where I'm just moving fish around and breeding them. Because the babies, a lot of them just community breed. There's enough algae. Honestly, I was telling people in my talk last Saturday that if I really wanted to, like, just focus on breeding fish, and that was like all I was doing, all those tanks would be like algae only. You just stick fish in a tank that's just covered in algae, they just always breed. Always. I think it's because algae is the most universal plant too. Across all waterways, rivers, ponds, lakes, you'll always find algae, so they know to breed on it. And it provides such a media for microorganisms too. Brandy Rutledge, thank you so much for the $20 super chat, the huge super chat. Thank you so much, Brandy. Says, I bought a used tall 60-gallon tank, but empty for 2 years that I know of. Should I remove internal silicone and re-silicone? I've seen vids on how to remove internal silicone. Should I do that? So I personally wouldn't. I would check the silicone seams. As long as everything looks fine, there's not like any discoloration as far as like it doesn't seem like it's still sealed on. Like sometimes meds will discolor them. But as long as it's like solid coloration and the silicone seems fine, then I would not bother with it. Because that is a lot of work to remove all that and then get the new silicone properly put on. And I hope the rack and moving all that stuff has been going well for you. But another thing that you can do is put it outside and maybe test it on a level flat surface if you have that ability, or just put it where it goes and pray for the best. That's what I always do. I mean, because, and if you do have any like thoughts that, oh, maybe it may just bust, always be ready to pull the water out too. So if you're filling it up and your removal of water system is there, it'll be a lot easier to like accomplish getting the water out and making the spill a lot less of an issue. And yeah, I mean, I would say as long as the silicone's not bad. I mean, I've had tanks sit for a lot longer outside. Tanks are really tough in my opinion. I deal with the Petco tanks too. I do not baby those things at all. Like, sometimes I just bang them around through the fish room just trying to get them to the racks. And then chuck rocks at them. And granted, I have busted a couple, not many, but I hope that helps you out, Brandy. Because that is a lot of work to try to reseal those. Honestly, I won't mess with the tank. If I have to worry about resealing it or re-siliconing it, I would rather just give it away than even taking the time to bother with it. Especially with the Petco cells, you know. As much time as you would put into resealing that, I could have made my time more valuable. Put it that way. So it all depends on your time too. Robert McLean says, did you sell Fenelon Panchek's Gardenier IP82 last year? I lost my paperwork and pretty sure that's what I bought from you. So I did sell some of the P82s last year. Definitely sold quite a bit of the P82s last year. So it could be it. Inga says, do you plan on making a single video explaining your current filterless tanks? I could link to friends, thoughts on prep, necessities, how it works, potential pitfalls. So, I mean, I talk about it all the time. As far as like, I do have filterless. I do have videos where I talk about it and where it's like, no filters, no filters, LRB, no filters. There's so many LRB, no filter single videos explaining what I do, because this whole current filterless tank thing, like, this is not new to me. I've been doing this for a long time now, and so the videos are there. It's just I haven't done one recently. So if you just type in LRB filterless aquarium, you'll get tons of videos, and then you can pick one that's you think's the right view duration for your peeps or whatever tickles your fancy. Oh, Xanadu, thank you so much for the membership sponsors. I appreciate that. Xanadu, you've been amazing throughout the years. And then thoughts on preps and necessities. So as far as how my filterless tanks do work, just to let you guys know here, like, I literally just put my faith into Mother Nature, because Mother Nature has been doing this so much longer than we have. I know these tanks look horrible behind me because they've got a lot of green water. These are actually my quarantine tanks. If I were doing water changes, that wouldn't be such an issue. That and the lights are usually off like a couple hours by now, so I'm just like feeding that green water by having them on still. You can still see some are still clear, but that's just like algae. But it's nature doing its thing. There's some real nice Rotalia here. The plants, they do prefer the water changes as far as the reoxygenation. So if you really want to grow plants, you're going to want to do your water changes. It's harder to get your plants to grow without water changes. They'll kind of keep them more in a homeostasis. I would say that's about the only pitfall as far as no water changes. But as far as keeping a natural filterless tank, as long as you're doing your water changes, there's not a whole lot different from the filtering of it, because when you do your water changes, it dilutes that water from any saturated, abundant nutrients, say, is like what breaks down in your fish food mostly. And then fish waste, as far as that goes, all the microorganisms that live in these no filters aquariums are what really do all the work. So the lack of filtration creates more of an allowance for a bigger food web and microbiological graduated sizes of organisms. So there's more of that in there with these no filter situations. So a lot of it is, it's hard. It does itself. It really just takes care of itself. Nature does its thing. I know that's what I've said it, like, I don't know how many times and for how long, that it's just nature doing its thing, and everybody wants this really long, elaborate description about how does it really work? How do you do this? Like, it's got to be like a whole book's length. Like, no, it really isn't. Like, it's very short, simple, and natural. And then that's what I try to teach, is the more you keep it more natural and more simple, easier it can be for you. And one day I will get these aquariums cleaned up, and it will really like hit home with you guys, because a lot of people, they click it and they see like, ooh, look at them dirty tanks. What's he telling me about aquariums for? Because God, they look horrible. I mean, they do look horrible. Fish absolutely love it in there. These tanks have had no maintenance since they've been put up. I don't know how long this thing's been up for. I think maybe 8 months. And I just top it off and quarantine things through it. Most of those fish need to come through to the barn. But I could easily scape these tanks and make them look really nice for you guys. And then people will be like, oh, woo, glitz and glamour. But, you know, I keep hundreds of aquariums. And a lot of these systems, especially when it comes to breeding fish and even just quarantining, they do not care about how glitzy or glamorous that tank is. And so if that's not my main go, then it's a little different. But see, I understand where a lot of you guys are coming from, because a lot of you guys have only a few aquariums. So you guys want more of that display tank and ideas and stuff like that. So saying that, here in the future, like, yeah, I've got tanks like this and that, but we will have some display tanks, and we will be doing that kind of stuff, just because there's so many ways to keep aquariums. And that's what I'm trying to help people realize, is there's so many areas and gray areas of keeping whatever color you want to choose. Xanadu, Merry Christmas to you, buddy. Says Merry Christmas, folks. Xanadu, gold member for 33 months. And sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions. Doing my best here. Kind of went on a tangent on that last one, but I feel like it was needed for sure. Because, like, I can talk and I can talk and I can talk, but, like, it's up to y'all to listen. Chi-Town Pat says, do you have any Dumbo ear guppies, maybe in the purple line? So I do have some. I actually got some, I think, in this tank here. Yeah, it is that tank. As far as the strain and how good they look is still to be determined. So I'll let you know down the line. I don't like to sell guppies and be like, okay, I got that pair of purple mosaic Dumbo ear guppies. Then I just sold all the, like, young out of them without knowing how good the line is, because I don't want to send and sell crap. For those who have been following me and watching me for a long time, you guys know I only like to mess with the best. Canal Side Aquatics says, what size tank would you recommend for a few endlers and shrimp? Been out of the hobby for a long time, getting back into it. Want to do a plated tank with small fish and shrimp. So if you want to do a small fish and shrimp tank, I would definitely look into those LRB filterless aquariums. A really good video would be the LRB symbiotic relationship video. And it talks about how guppies and endlers and shrimp and stuff have these symbiotic relationships to those no-filter aquariums, and actually some of the best fish to do those. So that could save you a lot of money. You can put the money more towards a bigger aquarium opposed to filtration and a bunch of chemical branded product subscription crap that you don't need. And keep it more natural. And as far as the tank size, I would recommend is I would go as big as you can in whatever space you have to really enjoy it. But if you want something small, I mean 10 gallon, 20 gallon, as far as shrimp and endlers, they don't need a whole lot. I personally want to do less than a 20 long. But you could do a 10. I think the 10 gallons anymore, as far as like anything, if you just don't have space and like that you want a tank, they're good for that. But killifish breeding, that's about it. Shrimp and endlers. You can keep a lot in a 10 gallon, but that's still not a whole lot of space for them. I like my aquarium inhabitants to have room to run, as I do for myself. Chi-Town Pat says, know anyone working on purple shrimp? Will you be keeping any? How long till they are mainstream in our hobby? I'm surprised that they're not mainstream in our hobby. And I've been preaching about them for years. And I even sent for the longest time when I was doing those cold shrimp, red and blue shrimp, to give them to people, just hoping somebody would be working on the purple line. And I know some that have tried it, but I don't know to what extent, like how hardcore they have tried it. I personally have worked it a little bit, but that was more a long time ago until I started doing all this other crazy aquatic stuff that I haven't put the time to do the purple shrimp, but hopefully here in the future I will get more of a chance to focus on that because I don't know. I feel like it should have already happened by now, and I got enough shrimp tanks at this point coming up here in the future that I will have room to actually work on something like that. So if I gotta do it, I gotta do it myself. But I'm sure it'll probably take about 5 years to line them out. But if that's how long it takes, that's how long I will freaking work on them if I got to. But it will be a while. I do got a 40 gallon where there is potential for some purples and genetics for purples. And if you guys are wondering how to get purple shrimp, red shrimp, blue shrimp, create purple shrimp. Yeah, I know. It sounds odd. It goes with the color wheel, but I'm telling you. You can either believe me or not. And if you choose not to believe me, well, that's your own problem. Jessica Hussey says, LRB, what can you tell me on glass catfish? Oh my God, I love glass catfish. They're actually one of my favorite catfish. Or favorite fish of all time. So it says, I'm picking up a 10 next week. Honestly, I would not keep them in a 10 gallon. They get like pretty good size. They like space. Very shy, so you're going to want floating plants in their aquarium. They like to swim up underneath that. They actually do kind of prefer some kind of current. A little bit of current, but not a lot. You can't keep them filterless. And the glass catfish. I tell you what, there was this one time, Bentley. Bentley was doing this. I was supposed to do it at the Triple Crown that was in Kentucky a while back. And he was asking everybody, like, if he won the lottery and he were to buy you one tank and you can only keep one fish in it, like, that would have been my answer, is just a ton, like a huge school of glass cats. Matter of fact, that's gonna happen at some point on this channel. I freaking love glass cats. Only problem is they add up quick. They're not cheap. And I was pretty close to getting them bred. Like, I had eggs. I had one that was egg bound, so they were probably already breeding in the community tank. But it's been a while since I've had them. But God, I love those fish. Brandy Rutledge says, can I put the 60 gallon on cinder blocks? Want tank higher up. All stands are 30 inches tall, but want more like 40 inches tall. More questions next. So, you don't want to put it directly on the cinder blocks. And if you do put it on cinder blocks, just make sure it's leveled and have some wood to buffer between the cinder blocks. The biggest thing was just make sure it's as level as possible. Solas says, do you still use any Eco Complete? Does it hold more beneficial bacteria compared to sand? Can you stock more, or is it not noticeable? I know you prefer Carib Sea sand. So as far as the Eco Complete is, I don't really use it anymore. It does hold more beneficial bacteria because it has a high porosity to it. So a lot of the beneficial bacteria can hold into that lava stone. I gotta lean back, man. My back. I dug out a little pond today, so I gotta move you guys. Alright, but anyway, so it does have a lot of porosity to hold that beneficial bacteria, but I'm not a fan of it, mostly because it is sharp. And you got to think about it. If your fish are mouthing on it a lot, you know, they're going to cut their mouths. It's abrasive. So I do pretty much stick to my yard sand, yard dirt. I prefer that over anything anymore. Because I think the yard sand, yard dirt, Just there's so much, what do I want to say? Je ne sais quoi. But no, there's natural essence and different things that you get from it that's not coming from something that's been sanitized and put in a bag. Which is coming from dry areas of my yard, not wet areas of my yard. Alright. Punta Gorda. I don't know why you guys are talking about Punta Gorda and stuff in the chat, but we actually almost ended up in Punta Gorda. There was our first house that we were going to get was in Punta Gorda, which I'm kind of like, it would have been amazing because the beach life and just the living down there is just nice. But God, there were so many mosquitoes. The mosquitoes were insane. They were insane. And I would not have had as much of a barn. So I was really kind of happy that fell through. We really lucked out here. And yes, Punta Gorda does have an airport. And Jessica Hussey, thank you so much for the $10 super chat and support. I appreciate that, Jessica. Says, I'm getting 10 glass catfish. Oh, I got you. 10 of them, that's awesome. And putting them in a 60-gallon planted tank. Well, you're going to love that. Definitely give them, like, I don't know if you got any floating plant or anything like that in there, but as long as they got something to, like, hide under, they really, really display well. They won't be as, like, trying to hunker down to the bottom. They'll actually, like, school up, shoal up underneath that floating plant. So, thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. And, dude, I'm jealous. That is awesome. Can't wait. Like, I've got it written down. I've had it written down forever for my glass catfish tank. Can we see all the quarantine tanks right now? You can see quite a bit of, there's some killifish, like, down in here. There's, like, killifish there, but besides that, the rest are pretty much empty. Let's see, we're 37 minutes in. I know if I start moving this, the internet will not be as good. So maybe later on, we'll, like, look at stuff. There's mostly just guppies and then baby rainbow fish, because every time I move rainbow fish, they always leave me more rainbow fish, because one of the downfalls and pitfalls of no filter keeping, I guess. Alright. Nickname 9 says, hey Lucas, any chance of you selling swamp guppies soon? I really need some. So, I really need to, but I need to figure like how many I have. See, the hardest part about like dealing with those kind of things is like the tank is so overplanted and I just haven't had the maintenance to deal with collecting them up and seeing what all I've got. And I'm working on like a special strain. What's up, buddy? Hi. Because I have some females that have colors in them, so I'm really trying to get the colors to pop out of the females as well. So it'll be like swamp guppies, but not with the normal doll females. I'll actually have colors to them. So they're not just any regular swamp guppy line. Brandy Rutledge says, I want to put shaker type U-shaped cabinet type material to hide the cinder blocks. Is that a thing? Yeah, definitely. So just putting a facade over the structure, it's what a lot of buildings do and good builders do to hide the main like infrastructure and just kind of make it decor. So yeah, definitely. Eventually I'm going to finish that wall in that barn, which is coming up soon. Hopefully, like, it'll probably be, like, within January or February. Which I will finally have in the wall tanks, which is something I've always wanted as a kid. But I got to be able to afford the stuff that puts that wall together, so I got to work up for that. So, LRBAquatics.com if you want some homebred, homegrown goodness. Like, I don't flip, like, I'm not sitting here buying from imports and then trying to pass it on to you guys. This is all good homegrown stuff. Passing Wind says, just had the picture from the stripper up again. I read that one. Totally Ron Burgundy did. Alright. Chi-Town Pat says, can we all... Oh, ask about the quarantine right now. And he says, right now. You got something to do, Pat? Soon, we will. Stephen White says, any hints on breeding Pseudomugil Gertruda? So, as far as breeding the Gertrudes, they like to breed on floating plants, but of course, okay, let me just put it this way. An algae tank for Pseudomugils, any of them, is like prime real estate. So, you got algae at the top, you got algae at the bottom, you got algae at the sides, you got algae anywhere, they'll breed all over it. Mid-70s, they don't care. As long as you're in the mid-70s, upper 70s, even lower 80s, if you like to keep your tank that hot, they'll breed. Really don't care about... Neutral, they'll have a little better breeding than if in really, really hard water, but I have bred them in hard water. They're just not as prolific. And water changes help. Comfortability is the most important part, so just make them feel comfortable. And sometimes that means having a little less light on your aquarium. So, all depends on how much light you want or how your display goes as far as breeding. Let's see. Another question. Brandy Rutledge says, my 4-foot racks, the bottom level is so low. Safe to put 4-foot racks on one cinder block height to lift the bottoms up to not lose the number of levels on the racks? I personally would not. That just sounds like an accident waiting to happen, because what happens is when you put those stands and racks on the ground, is its feet are pretty much compressing and creating like that bottom like balance within the way that it holds. So if you're putting it on top of cinder blocks, it adds like a kind of like a buffer or a spacer in between that. So if you were to like knock it or something, or accidentally run into it, and that water shifts, because what happens, especially if that water shifts, there's so much weight and momentum that comes from that, it could get bad real quick. And you can't just slow that down. Like, it's not like just solid material. When you're dealing with liquid, think about how like liquid trucks have to operate and how they've got that sloshing with like braking and gas and the way it has that momentum and pull. It would be way too risky. I definitely would not recommend it. I mean, in a perfect world, I wish I had all my tanks like at iView, but for us who love multiple tank syndrome, we gotta put them where we can. Alright, and I'm kind of all over this chat. I'm doing my best. If I missed your guys' questions, I'm sorry. But I think I want to scroll more towards the bottom, because at least I know you guys will still be here. Alright, Richard Reynolds, what's up, my dude? Always great to see you in here. It says, are you heating your fish barn? And if you are, at what temperature? So I do heat my fish barn. It's got a full unit in there, as far as AC unit. As far as temperature, I can't remember what it's at right now. I think it's like 74 or 76. So I just keep it in mid-70s. Yeah, it doesn't really go any lower than that, but in the summer it can get warmer. But just like my old house, I always kept it at 74, 76. Outside In Aquatic says, got any suggestions for telling gender on pampered killies? I got a group a couple weeks ago about 1 inch long. So you really just got to wait for them to color up. The ones without a color, which sometimes can be tricky because some killifish will have like that alpha beta bit where if one is turned into a beta male too much, he may trying to look like a female just so he doesn't get beat up. And sometimes they will play tricks on you. So what you do is you separate the ones that you definitely know are males. Males, they're always aggressive with each other. Always keep them separated. The females, I can keep them together, no problem. But the males, you definitely want to separate them out. And when you do keep the females, and then you realize that there was a male in there, it's not really a big issue because he's got all those females in there with him, keeping them happy. So then he will usually color up. So that's a good way to figure them out when they're young and trying to sex them. And you could usually tell the colors within the fins before anything. Oh, lamp eye killifish. That's a little different too. Lamp eye is a little different than like say Fundulopangex or Amphicemians and stuff. Because they all kind of look fairly similar. That one I do not know. That one I do not know. As far as like, because they look so similar. Alex Bradbury says, "Hey LRB, my Murray River rainbow fish spawned in their mops. I put the eggs in a deli cup with a sprig of pearlweed and a drop or two of methylene blue with air stones sitting in a tank. Is that okay?" In my opinion, I would not. I would not deal with that methylene blue at all. What I would have done is I would have taken that spawning mop and put it in like a shoe container. So instead of a deli cup, because they need more surface area when they're young, something like this container instead of the deli cup. Put them in something like this with about, let's say about that much water. Some pearlweed, maybe even dust some sand down there if you want to. Give them some microorganisms. I would squeeze a dirty filter in that, or some mulm, or just use old aquarium water over any methylene blue or anything like that. Because what happens is, and this is a big reason why people use the methylene blue, is we used to keep aquariums in such sterile conditions that the eggs even have to be sterile to like be good and have better results and stuff like that. But when the microbiology is already there, it will take care of like fungus eggs. It will take care of like the bad eggs naturally, like it does in nature. And because if that methylene blue is in there when they hatch too, it's not good for the fish. That stuff is bad stuff. And I see people ship fish in that stuff and eggs in with that stuff, and it's not good. It's not good. I know there's like all kinds of documentaries like methylene blue, the miracle cure of 1957 or some stuff. And you know, I've never been a fan of it. It discolors a lot of your silicone, discolors a lot of stuff, and it is not natural. And when babies come out of their eggs, they need more of that natural essence of like biofilm and microbiologies, because automatically you're starting them off on a worse foot with that stuff, because their immunity isn't going to get all of what it normally would. Now, the thing about rainbow fish too is they throw a ton of eggs, and it's definitely a survival by numbers game. So you will get tons and tons of rainbow fish babies, but it's only the strong will survive. And the more you divide them up after they hatch, and give them more surface area, then you can get more numbers out of them. But my opinion on that methylene blue, I mean, there's so many people, hardcore keepers, been using it for a long time, that would argue with me and just, you know, it's worked great for them, and that's great for them. But personally, not a fan at all of methylene blue. Put that on a shirt. Methylene blue, suck it. The 186 element says, do you still think you're the king of root beer, LOL? The king of root beer. I don't know if I was the king of root beer, but I definitely went down that rabbit hole. And I do love a good root beer, but I haven't had a root beer forever. I haven't had a pop or soda, whatever you want to call it, for, shoot, I would say at least a year, if not a year and a half now. It's just water and lemonade and orange juice, milk for me. Let's see. Henry Figueroa says, did you leave the shillite eggs in the same aquarium to hatch them, or did you dry them first? Mine just had eggs. So, yeah, I just pulled out the parents, and I did absolutely nothing with the aquarium. Then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to look in there and see if there's anything, because it's been a while. I wasn't even feeding them. And I did kind of throw like a couple granules in there every once in a while, because I was thinking, if there's snails in there, give them something to eat, you know. But then I went and checked, and there was a bunch of them. And I got some videos of it. You'll see it in the next video coming up. What I'm talking about. They did have different sizes of fry, so they naturally hatched out in that aquarium without any interference with my behalf. So that's about as easy as it gets when it comes to breeding. Like, you stick the fish in there, you give them a couple weeks. This is how I breed mostly everything. Is I stick the fish in there, I give them a couple weeks to do whatever the heck they want to do. And then I'd get rid of them, and then they just multiply. I guess it's farming. I'm a farmer. That's how farming works, right? Let's see. Soul S says, which Aquaneat LEDs do you recommend? RGB or 0.5 Fowler? So, definitely the RGB over the 0.5 Fowler. It's been proven time and time that the full red, green, blue spectrum will grow plants a lot better. And when you got more of that spectrum, the healthier plants will grow, and the less algae and off balances you have to mess with. Let's see. Note to self, don't listen to ANGFA members. So yeah, that's a lot of the old school method. A lot of those members are old school. Like, I wouldn't say don't listen to them at all. And you know, you will probably have some success with it, but it's a lot more work than, say, like throwing some rainbow fish into one aquarium for 2-3 weeks, and then moving them to another aquarium so they can be in there for 2-3 weeks, because the 2-3 weeks is about the hatch rate and time with the rainbow fish. So that's the easiest way for me to breed rainbows. Super easy, super quick. But if you are target breeding with spawning mobs, I don't know, that methylene blue is no good. It's just something that they've known. It's something that's been instilled to them, taught to them, and, you know, it's all they know. You only know what you know, and it's so hard to get people to understand otherwise if they don't want to. Let's see. Ugh. Yeah, I know that feeling. Jeff Kane says, one of my orders of zebra plecos was shipped to me in methylene blue. It's got that kind of like slant face, smiley icon going on, and dude, I totally feel you. Anytime I get an order and I see that blue water, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get them out of this stuff. Scroll, scroll, scroll. All right. Oh wow, 55 minutes already. That happened quick. A lot of chat between y'all. Oh, Alex said they are wild caught parents too. Wait, Alex, were you the one that sent me those pictures of the rainbow fish over there? You had all the wild ones and stuff in Australia. Let's see. Pile Aquatic says, I pull killifish eggs every day to maximize my numbers. I do use methylene blue. I'm going to try not using it again. The results last time were not great. So the thing with the hatching of the killifish, what I've learned instead of doing the methylene blue, is you don't want to use the aquarium water. For some reason, I don't know why, they have more susceptibility to fungus and other things with the normal aquarium water. But if you do use like a RO or rainwater, you'll get a lot better results if you're like in a peat moss in rainwater for the killifish over the methylene blue. But you know, a lot of people have had a lot of success with that methylene blue, and that's why I'm saying, like, I can't really knock it a whole lot. Well, I will. I did knock it a lot. I probably will continue to, because that's my personal preference. But like I mentioned, there's so many people who have a lot of success with the way that they do it. And I think that's where it all comes down to, is it's more to the approach of using the methylene blue too, of things that can go wrong compared to otherwise. But you know, there's always like two sides of the coin. That's the duality of life. A lot of people are like one way, but there's always more than one way. But yeah, I will forever not be a fan of methylene blue. Even if you use the carbon block, it still doesn't have, like, you don't know what else is in that water with that city water. And I think that's why killifish can be real susceptible sometimes. And they're used to, in nature, like, getting that rainwater to give them their wet season. So they're used to, like, being born out of, like, normal water areas. So they are more designed for that, like, soft rainwater that's more sterile, I guess. Even though it's not completely sterile, because even those raindrops are gathering essence of dust through the earth and air as it falls. Same reason why you can buy all the those gel plants, those tissue culture plants, and still end up with algae, because it's in the air. It is in the air. And don't hassle the Hoff. Thank you. Thank you again for the awesome support. $20 super chat. Really appreciate that. It says, Merry Christmas. Thanks for everything. I love the live streams. Well, dude, I'm glad you like them. And I'm glad we could do this. And your support, definitely appreciated. And I will put it to good use. A matter of fact, KG Tropicals the other day did a community post where they asked, like, they're doing a poll, like, they had it from like $100 to like $500 to like $1,000 or something like that of what you spent on aquarium stuff. And I've never, like, really thought about it until I saw that post, and I'm like, oh my god, I've never really thought about this. And then I started thinking about that, and the amount of money Spent on aquariums is ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about like around $200,000 on aquariums within these last years, because buying all the aquariums, all the racks, all the plumbing system, that pond stuff, if you count that, and then doing it all over again here, like it adds up so fast. Like, but for me, this is what I love to do. Like, I work to buy more aquariums. And you know, it's what I love to do. So your guys' support has helped me do all this and live my dreams. So I could never thank you guys enough, and never show enough appreciation truly to how I feel about how lucky and blessed I am to have all you guys behind me, because I could not do this without you. Because I remember when I first wanted to get into aquariums, and I was thinking about like doing it for real, for like this my job and all that stuff. But a brick and mortar was the only way back then. And now we got social media. It's pretty wild. All right, so I think I'm at the bottom here, and I do not see a question for myself, so I'm sorry if I missed it. But we'll get up and we'll show a little bit of what's going on in the quarantine areas here. Here we got a bunch of guppies breaking that 1 inch per gallon rule there. You can kind of see a couple little baby rainbows in the quarantine rack. Oh, which I haven't really showed this much at all, like on my channel. I think I did like one video on it, but there's mostly just rice fish. These are some of them rice fish from Japan. I think these are the new geckos. Little guys. Ooh, look at half moon mosaics. Dragons, or whatever they call them. And then here's that one Rotalia I was mentioning that's growing really good. More of a red plant. Can't remember which Rotalia that was. I'm always like, oh, I'll remember it. And then I don't. But it's just loaded with baby guppies. Where's the parents? I don't know where the parents are right now. There was cyanobacteria in here. That's why I haven't moved any of this plant out. But you can see it's dying back. It was all over the place. It's kind of disconnected and dying back. I just threw some general cure in there. Oh, there's the male. He's hiding back there. He's like, we should be asleep right now. What's going on? Yeah, they should all be put in bed. Then I've got these wild looking guppies from Vibes Aquatics, and some of the genetics in here are just insane. Look at that guy. Like, I'm playing on, look at that guy. I'm playing on trying to, look at that guy. Look at that. That's like a purple and yellow. Look at that. That is sick. Purple and orange. Oh, man. See, that kind of stuff, that gets me excited. So I'm going to end up working a bunch on these at some point, because that's just fun. I've got some rice fish, fire reds. This was an axolotl tank when they were in quarantine. That's why there's all these pipes and shrimp in here. Shrimp are like their #1 diet. These are the red tiger longfins. These are supposed to get longfins on them. We'll see. We'll see. That plant is just getting chewed up by, I guess, the shrimp. I don't know. Kind of weird how it's growing like that. And then underneath it, maybe a couple baby pseudomegul arutus. I knew there was a couple in there not long ago. I haven't really seen them lately, but there's so much going on. I move things around, they might pop up. And then there's half-baked tiger half-bakes and these two here, which is kind of blurry because it wants to pick up the plant and not the fish. But those wrestling half-beak like fish, these are kind of a pain because they always want to wrestle. And these are the 3 tricolor rice fish. Focus. Focus. The hardest part's getting this to focus. I can kind of see, I don't know about tricolor, I see more of duo color. And then here are the Dumbo, purple Dumbos that I was talking about. They've got a bunch of babies. Their babies are getting bigger. The ones I was talking about earlier. Looks like a nice couple. What carpeting plants do you recommend? Pearlweed, grass. And if you go with the grass, the bellum grass is one of the easier ones to grow. Pearlweed you got to maintain. The thing with carpeting plants is you've got to mow them. You've got to trim them. If you really want them to carpet out and really get a hold, is you've got to cut them. Because what happens is, if you cut your plants, they will put more power towards their roots. But if you don't cut your plants, they will not. And then they will go more towards where they want to go, up towards the surface. And then they will start putting power towards their roots out here. And then they'll do it less down there. But if I were to keep trimming that, it would just try to sprawl more. And then in here, I've got guppies and coolie loaches. Got some albino galaxy guppies and babies from them finally. And then that one's empty. And then some baby sentiensis rainbow fish. But that's the quarantine area in here. Eventually I'll get some tanks for up there. And then Lady LRB's got her plants up there. But I do have a pump. It is all set for the water change system. The only thing I got left to do is drill a hole through my house. I've just been waiting until I do that with everything else because I would rather practice on the barn walls before I start practicing on my house walls. Drilling through which, I mean, it's just drilling a hole. But eventually this will be all remote system. So in here is the actual like utility area of it. So you got the lights there, the timer, then see that little key fob there. I'll be able to just hit that and the pump will push the water out. And then it's all plumbed in from the bathtub, actually. I went through the wall down here from the bathtub. And it all connects to a water change. So I can just top them off with the little valveo. And that's the outflow. So that's almost done there. Almost done there. But this was more of a, I don't know, different build than what I normally do. I enjoyed it. And then, yeah, here's the temp. 75, 54. But that's the quarantine area. Most part of it. I think eventually this will be like the only place that we have quarantine stuff. And like these totes, like this is about to come off the floor. We're going to take all these off the floor. And then we'll probably move that over there. But I'll do more like a sump system up underneath it. Maybe. We'll see down the road. And then, yeah, it'll all be consolidated, which will be really nice. And then we'll have space over here on this wall for, I don't know, TV maybe, even though we don't watch a whole lot of it, especially in our bedroom, because there is no TV. Chia Pat says, Lucas, where is a listing of the various species of guppy to know if you have a different color variety? As far as like a comprehensive list, I don't know if he ever made it. So there's probably only like one real big comprehensive list that I can think of. Is I know Chris Lockup was working on this book of like all these endlers and guppies, but I don't know if he actually named them and had them named right. But as far as like figuring that kind of stuff out, it's always been grabbing information from here, grabbing information from there, because you have different countries and strains and varieties, so many varieties of them, that there's not like a much comprehension, like huge variety of comprehension on like the collection of data on it, compared to like if you go to the IFGA, the International Fancy Guppy Association, and they've got like a certain amount of them, but that's like things have perpetuated so much since a lot of that data was collected. I definitely think there should be more of an updated one somewhere. I just don't know of it, and if anybody has done it. And I think Chris was the closest to doing it. Which, if you guys know Chris Lockup, he was the Shrimp King. Self-proclaimed. He said, my brand will be Shrimp King. So he crowned himself. Wolf Toe says, do your Lucipennus swim into floating pennywort? Mine do. Might be hunting for baby snails. They do, and it's awesome to watch them interact with that. They love it. They love to like sift through plant material and just go all about it. Matter of fact, tank that they're in right now is just completely covered in guppy grass. They're just like little sharks through it all. Alright, kind of went over a little bit, but that's okay. Shady Grady says, do I need to chop up the pearlweed before planting it? I don't see many roots, and it's been floating for a while now. I mean, you can chop it up if you want. It'll propagate more, but if you really want that to grow, do your water changes. It loves water changes, and you can like maybe chop a little bit here and there. The great thing about pearlweed is like it's easy to spread, take apart. Like you put a little bit here, you put a little bit there, and it'll grow eventually. But the more biomass of it that you have together, the faster it'll grow, because it has all that energy to grow from. So if it's just this little piece, it's going to take it a lot longer to get to here. But if you already have this piece, it's going to get to like double a lot faster. The growth momentum. That's what I'm going to choose to call it. All right. Well, we're way over the hour mark. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to hop off here. I appreciate all your guys' support. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. And who knows, maybe I'll get that video done this weekend. I can't promise anything because of weather. Right now, a lot of what I'm doing is being played by the weather. Speaking of which, I got to go grab some stuff from outside that I just remembered that is still out there. But, Juju Beams real quick. Hey, man, do you have a help in the Facebook group? I was looking for a place I can get dry fertilization for cherry shrimp tank, 20 gallon. NiloCG.com is where I would get GH booster for dry ferts, and or you can type in LRB fertilizer, and I've got videos on how to make your own dry ferts with your macros and micros, and the whole like formula of what I used and all that kind of stuff. And Nilo CG is pretty cheap for buying those fertilization, but I don't do Facebook groups much just because I don't have time to ever get into those. It's just time is of the essence for my old ass. So on that note, I gotta get back to it. I appreciate y'all being here, supporting all that stuff. Till next time, everybody. Peace. Have a great one. Da 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 da.